Hey everybody, this is Connor, BoatsDon'tSink, and I am here today with some Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel sample deck lists. It's been about a little over a week, about 10 days since the set came out, and I've got 4 lists here today. As always, these deck lists are mostly just sort of skeletons to be built off of, not exact 50 cards that a lot of testing has been put into. I unfortunately don't have the time to go in depth in testing this many different builds for every set, but hopefully these give some starting points to popular sort of builds for the set, and I'll mention some options that you can build on them with. So first up, we have the Ren and Archer deck, always been one of the more popular sort of quote-unquote waifu or like OTP decks for Fate. Especially since in the past, out of all the characters, Ren and Archer had probably the biggest shell that supported them. For this list, I decided to use some of the new one of the new combos. There are obviously a lot of older cards in here, since the new Ren and Archer cards don't really focus on Ren and Archer themselves, but more on just the Master and Servant traits in general. So a lot of the payoff cards are the older ones. But we've fit some new cards in here. It's, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 new cards. And it sort of changed around the look of the deck a little bit. The first thing you might notice is how few level 2s and 3s we're running. And I will get to that when we look at this Archer here. So this right here is sort of why I decided to build the deck this way. The new Archer level 3 combos with a Stock Soul, and the old Ren combo, as well as the new Ren combo, are both on red Stock Souls. So the deck sort of very easily lends itself to an 8 Stock Soul deck, and the new Ren level 1 has the sort of popular Amagi ability, where you can pay 1 stock upon playing a Climax to look at top 4, add 1 to hand, put the rest in Waiting Room. When you have a Stock Soul, you get to stock 1 and then immediately pay it out, or pay 1 and then replace that stock with your Climax. So it effectively makes this free, which turns playing a Climax into a break-even at the cost of not getting your stock, right? So one stock break-even. So you're getting like free soul pushes, effectively. And if you have 2 Amagis, then you're getting like pay 1 plus 1, and replacing your Climax and getting a soul push, which is really powerful. Decks in the past that have tried to do this, well, Kantai, right? Kantai Collection has the original Amagi that it's named after, and plays Stock Souls. I can't think of any other immediately off the top of my head, for some reason. Cardcaptor Sakura, with the Stock Soul level 1 trial deck combo, and the green level 0 that has this effect. So those really enjoy being able to just sort of play their Climax and effectively for free get a +1 off the top 4. So that's why I decided to build it around this. And since we're talking about the new Archer, his combo with the Stock Soul is on attack, pay 1, discard a weapon character or character with Ren in its card name, which is going to be everything, because it's all Ren and Archer. Archer's a weapon, and everything else is a Ren. The Climax is in play, and you have another weapon character or character with Ren in its card name. Again, that'll be always. You may pay the cost. If you do, put the top 6 cards of your deck into your Waiting Room and deal X damage to your opponent. X is equal to the number of soul trigger icons revealed among those cards. He's also a healer, which is why I didn't think it was super necessary to have other level 3s in the deck, because he heals. And typically, if you're just trying to fit more level 3s in, it's usually to have access to heals. So, looking back at the entire list, since our 8 Climaxes are all double soul triggers, we wanted to cut back on the number of level 2s and 3s we had with soul triggers, just so that we wouldn't be dealing way too much damage on Archer. Because he's efficient enough, in that he's just on attack, pay 1, ditch 1, that we can do multiple Archers very easily. And we want to do multiple Archers very easily, but if they're dealing like 7 or 8 damage, it's not really worth it, because our opponent's just going to cancel that. And every Climax that we reveal out of the top 6 adds 2 damage. So very often you're going to be dealing like probably 4 damage off of climaxes, so we don't really want to be milling other level 2s and 3s. Our goal is to deal between 2 and 4 damage. With this build, because of the 8 double soul climaxes, you're probably dealing between like 3 and 6, hopefully airing towards like 4, maybe 5. So you are swinging a bit high with this list, but if you're gonna play this combo, you're sort of locked into 4 double soul triggers already, and Rin locks you into the other 4 because all of her combos at level 1 are stock souls. So you either have to not play another climax combo or play like an off character. You can obviously play this guy in like a different build that's not Rin Archer, and you have a lot more options. But I think Rin Archer sort of updates itself enough and is popular enough that I really wanted to talk about it. As far as other cards we've got, we have the Clock Encore support, Devilish Smile. It gives all your Rins and Archers Clock Encore. So we can recur our level 1 combo by clocking ourselves. We can recur like beaters at level 0, or utility that we have to attack with at level 0. We can keep our level 3s around for an extra turn to go for a double finisher turn. Anything like that, really. It's cool with the 2-1 Awkward Relationship Rin. That one's a new card. It's on attack if it's attacking a level 3 or higher, or if the character facing it is level 3 or higher. It gains 6,000 for turn. So it attacks level 3s at 13.5 before any assists. So in the world where you play that, attack a level, like an early play, kill it, and then your opponent plays like a new early play to kill your Rin, you can Clock Encore it and just kill that one back, sort of keep draining your opponent's resources that way. So that's a pretty good one. We have the spammable Salvage Brainstorm just to get deck control and hand fix. We played 3 of the Successor of Tosaka because that is a on-play hand filter for Rin or Archer in name. It's reveal top. If it's a character with Rin or Archer in name, add to hand, discard 1. So it's just more hand filter, more deck control. It also has pay 1, rest 2. Choose an Archer, and it gains the ability when battle opponent becomes reversed, you may choose a character in your waiting room and return it to your hand. So this works well with the level 1 fire support Archer. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of Archers in here, but the Rin is still fine, like for the on-play effect. The fire support is on attack. You give another Master or Servant plus 1,000 power, and then when he becomes reversed, you can reveal the event Calibulk 2 from your hand as a resonate effect to reverse your level 1 or lower battle opponent. So he's a level 1 bomb if you have the event in hand. And we're playing 4 of the event, obviously, and we're playing 4 of the Archer level 0 that bonds to it on play. So the goal is to always have the event in hand to bomb stuff. And it's particularly good against like standby decks where they have 1/1s. So you can play the Archer, bomb it, get a salvage off of it because of the Rin 0/0. And since none of our like brainstorms or Amagis or anything rest themselves, or like the Clock Encore support, we can very easily just rest our back row for this. Bomb a level 1, get a card out of it. Maybe Clock Encore our Archer to bomb on defense again. Stuff like that. Like I said, 4 of the Archer that bonds the event. It also has rest 2 of your Master or Servant characters to give a character 2,000. So again, since we don't have anything that rests itself for effect, we always really have our back row open to rest for anything that we need it for. 4 of the Jewel Magic Rin, because it's Rin Archer's pretty much only like beater at level 0. It's just a 4K if you have 1 or fewer other characters. So it's a good like turn 1 play or whatever as a 4K. Unfortunately, they just don't really have anything better, so we're playing 4 of those. Level 1 combo is on reverse salvage with the stock soul, and if you have 3 or more other Rin or Archers, it becomes a 55 base. So unfortunately not huge, but we can rest 2 to pump it, or we can on attack with the bomb pump it 1k. The Amagis give it global 500, etc. So there's ways to make it a little bigger. Hopefully we don't have to rely on it too heavily since we do have the Amagi to pay 1, check top 4, and build card advantage anyway. 2 anti-change counter because it's anti-change counter. The Amagis, like I said, the awkward relationships. We play 3 of the Heroic Rin on Archer, it's the free fresh. It's a 2-1 that heals you and draws you a card. There's no reason not to play it. We have tons of access to it. We also have Calibulk 2 to check top 4 and add a red character from among them to hand. which is every character in our deck, including the Free Fresh, and it gives us deck control, which lets us Free Fresh whenever we want. So it's very good synergy, which is why we're playing the whole event package in the first place, honestly. Free Fresh synergy. So yeah, that's the Ren Archer deck. Might not be the best build, but I like this new Archer, so I wanted to show off 8 stock souls. Next we have the Coinflip, as it's usually called, weapon trait deck. So this focuses on Battle Continues Lancer, which is a card from Unlimited Blade Works 2, that when it becomes reversed in battle, you reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's level 2 or higher, you can return the Lancer to your hand. And because of that, we're playing a lot of level 2 or higher, as you can see. So we kind of always want to hit that. Main thing in this deck is that Lancer, as I said, and the Heroic Spirit Archer. Also cares about level. It's on attack, reveal top card. If it's a Master or Servant character, you deal X damage to your opponent, where X is that card's level, or that character's level. Also has Resonate with a card we don't play. You can see our level breakdown on the side there. Play 23 zeros, that's including climaxes. 6 1s, 8 2s, and 13 3s. So we're trying to trend as high as possible here, without hurting our consistency a whole lot, in order to get these effects to have the most effectiveness possible, right? We're also playing the Furious Punch Shiro, which gives all of our Shiro, Saber, or Ren characters in front of it plus 500 and plus 1 soul. And it has a change effect into one of the level 3s that we play. We mainly care about this at level 2 for the soul effect, since it turns our costless characters into 2 soul beaters, excluding the Lancer, unfortunately. And we have 8 shot triggers, which have soul icons and deal a damage if the opponent cancels. So we're pushing very aggressive, consistent damage, which is this deck's whole goal, really. It's just to keep pushing damage and keep being very efficient with its cards, because if the Lancer keeps bouncing back, that's a card we get, like, we don't have to play another card for free every turn. And then our end game, we have the Unlimited Blade Works Shiro. So this is what the assist changes into. On play from hand or by change, draw up to 1 card, it gains 2k. And Climax combo, on reverse, pay 2, discard 1, and put another character from your stage into your waiting room. When his battle opponent becomes reversed, if a card named Unlimited Blade Works is in your Climax area, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a character in your waiting room with the same level as the card you reversed. Put it on any position of your stage, and at Encore step, if that character is on the stage, put it into your memory. So the goal is your opponent plays level 3s, you play Shiros, you kill them. You summon Heroic Spirit Archers and get to burn on attack, getting you effectively up to 9 attacks on your level 3 turn, which is pretty great. It's actually potentially, well, no, not potentially more than that, unfortunately. So yeah, 9 attacks, up to 9 attacks, which is pretty good. You can also summon the Sword Shrouded by Wind Saber, which is the new Saber 3/2. It has an on-play from hand effect, so it's not going to trigger from this Shiro combo. It can return one of your opponent's characters to hand, which, if you play it from hand, it helps the Shiro, because you can bounce like assists out of your opponent's back row that are going like 2k assists and all, so your Shiro can reverse more easily. But it also has on attack, pay 1, discard 1, give all of your Master or Servant characters plus 500 and a soul. Which, if you're doing like 6 attacks over your turn, and can choose pretty much wherever you want in the middle of those to do that, it gives you very good damage control. You can just keep attacking. So you can like swing with your first Shiro, reverse something, sack your back row, and summon Saber on top of your first Shiro. Then, you can start attacking with your other characters, and as soon as you stick enough damage that you need to be swinging for smaller numbers, you can swing with the Saber, pump your soul, and start side attacking with everything to deal smaller numbers of damage. So that's a very cool option that lets you like pump up to 4 soul to side into 3s for 1. Obviously you're probably frontaling with the Shiro, but then the Archer can come down, you can pump the soul into the Archer, side, deal damage on attack, side for 1, so on and so forth. So these two together give you a lot of damage control, getting summoned off the Shiro. You can also see we have the Archer Brainstorm. It salvages weapon trait. Every character in this deck is weapon trait. So it's just... Oh, I'm sorry, not every. All but one. The Free Fresh is not weapon, because it's Servant Master. So we can salvage everything except the Free Fresh. And it's also when your other character becomes reversed, you give a character 500, which is better than the Sakura Brainstorm's other effect, because we're not playing treasures. We play Married Life, because it's weapon. It has Shiro in name. It gives 500 power, and it gives more than 500 power when we play a climax. Mainly just here to help our level 1 combo actually beat over things. And it can help Free Fresh beat over things. And it's a costless character that attacks for 2 soul if we have the soul assist on board. Lancer is Lancer. Saber Alter has Saber in its card name. Fun fact. It's also a 3500 drop search. This is our ideal turn 1 play, other than Lancer. Also, good 2 soul beater at level 2. Also helps us just discard all these stupid level 2s and 3s that we're inevitably going to draw and not be able to play for the first half of the game. So, yeah, that's why we play 4 of them. Level 1 combo, we're playing the new Saber. It's on reverse. If the climax is in play, look it up to 4, add a master or servant, put the rest in waiting room, and then give a character 2000. So if you can get one easy reverse, it chains into the rest of them being, like, huge. It's continuous 55 if you have 2 or more other characters, so they go to, like, 85 with climax combo. Then your assist can make them, like, 9Ks or 10Ks. So they get big. Fairly big. They're also costless and have Saber in name, so we can pump them with Soul Assist. Look how easy that is. Archer 2K counter can kind of protect our Sabers, because if they're 6Ks with assist, they go to 8. That beats, like, Union and stuff like that, which is relevant enough. Also gets Free Fresh to, like, 10-5 or 10K, which is fine. They're also red color fix, kind of, which we kind of have enough red, but they give us a little more red. They're 2K backups, and they, unfortunately don't get Soul Boost. But they are weapon traits, so we can keep salvaging them back off of archers. We play Soul Assist, obviously, and it changes into our finisher, so we don't really have to hold finisher as much. Or we can get, like, multiple finishers a lot easier. One anti-change bomb, because it's 1 stock early play removal that also gets a soul off of the Shiro. You can play the Rin from the previous list in this slot, the one that gains 6,000, because that also gets +1 soul off of your Shiro. So those are kind of interchangeable here. We play 3 of the Free Fresh. We have a lot less deck control in this deck to abuse the Free Fresh. We're playing 3 so that we draw them, because our only other real way to get them is Drop Search and Climax combo. But these aren't as important here. We're playing high counts of level 2s and 3s for our effects anyway, so we play 3 Free Fresh. So there's not much better to play. We play 3 of the Archer for our finisher. We play 2 Excalibur Sabers. This is the early play from Unlimited Blade Works 2. It early plays for 5 or fewer cards in deck, which interacts pretty well with the Free Fresh, letting you get multiple heals off in a turn. And then it gains 500 for each other character with Shiro or Saber or Rin in its card name, which thankfully is like everything except our Lancer. And the Brainstorm, well actually I lied. Brainstorm has Rin in its name, by the way. It's Rin's servant, Archer. So it's also a 2 soul beater. And counts towards all of our like power effects. And then it heals. I'm going to skip the finisher because we already talked about it. Next level 3 we have is a Shiro that is also an early play. It's 2 or less climax gets -1 level in hand. So we have early plays at new deck and at old deck. It's also really cool because we can go, oh, 5 or fewer cards in deck. Play Saber, Free Fresh. Or not Free Fresh, play Saber, heal. Play Free Fresh. Effectively heal and cantrip. Now we have no waiting room. Play Shiro, cantrip again. Look at that, we have a full board of dudes. For 5 stock, 3 dudes, 2 heals, 2 cantrips. It's pretty good. This guy also on attack gives power, which means we can pump our Shiro finisher. So if we go like double Shiro finisher, we can attack with Shiro early play, pump Shiro combo. Then attack with big Shiro combo, get a reverse, sack off Shiro early play, summon Archer. Alternatively, summon another Shiro early play, pump our other Shiro combo to get a reverse with it. Look at that. That's good card interactions right there. 2 Sabers. 2 of the event. Servant's Power Sealed Within. So this searches for the early play Shiro, and then goes off to memory. And while it's in memory, your Shiro gains an ability, the early play Shiro specifically. It can accelerate. You can clock yourself at the beginning of climax phase to search your deck for a climax, reveal it, put it in hand, and then discard a card and shuffle. It's basically, I mean, it tutors our early play, which means if we draw the event and then refresh and don't have our early play, we can just play the event, tutor the early play, and early play. It's also good because if our early play is still on board when we hit level 3, we can just tutor our climax for our combo so we don't have to worry about drawing it. It's also memory compression, which is cool. 8 shots because 8 shots. Yeah, this is a cool deck. It's a really aggressive deck. It's kind of just the update to the Lancer Coinflip meme before, except now I think it's actually a lot better. Alternative to playing Shiro combo is Gilgamesh 2-1, which combos with a stock soul and is on reverse mill 2, and you perform the action deal 1 damage for each soul trigger icon you mill, which is really good damage, but he's a 2-1, he's like 7k. So you're actually like pushing damage at level 2 instead of level 3. Still a good card, just interacts differently. I think this gives you a more explosive finish, but the deck works either way. Other cool thing you can do in this deck, since we have so many soul triggers, and the soul assist, pumping both of our early plays, you have a really easy option to like side attack with your early plays, still deal good damage, and avoid anti-change counters. So that's a very powerful option you have, because if these are like 3 soul, and then you like play a climax, you can side into level 2s for 2, or you can not play a climax and side over level 1s for 2 damage. And if you trigger, you're at 3. If you trigger a shot, you're at 3, and they're still taking 1 if they cancel. So it's really good at keeping your early plays safe. Nice. Next deck we have Illya and Berserker, another sort of fan favorite. Lots of 4-0s in here. Lots of set 2 cards. However, the set 3 cards I think are the ones that make this deck sort of jump way ahead of where it was before. Illya now has a Brainstorm. Pay 1, rest 2, search for a blue character or Shiro for each climax you hit. And since none of our other cards need to rest themselves, we, that's really easy to pay 1, rest 2. And it's global 500 on opponent's turn. Petite Illya is a global 500 to Illyas and Berserkers. The 4 of Signal to Commence Battle is on play hand filter for a master or servant character. And on play you can pay 1, clock yourself, draw a card. It's unfortunately the closest thing to a Ricky effect that Fate has, especially with Illya in its card name. But it's still a plus, so whatever, we play it. And it's a hand filter even if we don't use the clock effect. And 4 of the Mad Warriors Howl Berserker, because it's a 4K, so it's a good turn 1 play. And it is a clock condition for our early play. The downside for being oversized is when it becomes reversed in battle, it goes to bottom of deck. And it also cannot stand if you don't have another Illya, which is why out of our 15 zeros, 11 of them are Illyas. So hopefully that's never an issue. Level 1 combo, we play Snow Fairy. It's the combo from set 2 on attack if you have the stock soul in play, and 4 or more other master or servants. So you have to have an entire full board to do this, but you get to draw a card on attack, which you don't have to reverse. It's only drawing a card, which is unfortunate, but you don't have to reverse, so card advantage is card advantage. And it has Illya in name, which is relevant for this whole deck. 4 of the Confronting a King, which I will talk about in a moment. Excuse me. 3 Tenacious Berserker. So this is a 1-1. It's if the character facing it is cost 0 or lower, this card cannot become reverse. It's a profile that I've come to like a lot recently. You might not think you need 3. You can play like backups or something in place of 1 or 2 of these. Probably not 2, but in place of like 1 of these and 1 of something else maybe. And then on play, if you do not have the Brainstorm, it has to rest itself, because it's like 1,000 over spec. But ideally, we always have Brainstorm. Unfortunately, we don't have great ways to search Brainstorm, but hopefully we just mulligan into it. This Berserker is really good, though, against, like, any any deck that's not a standby deck, really. They're all playing 1-0s, right? Especially decks like Love Life Sunshine with Chica bombs. They can't just bomb you and get the reverse combo off. Attack on Titan literally can't reverse you. What else is good right now? Like Yunyuns can't reverse you. Bang Dream, nothing in it can reverse you unless they're playing standby with 1-1s. Because they just don't play 1-1s otherwise. Or Pastel Palettes also beats you, but whatever. It's just so many decks play like 1-0s, right? So this guy doesn't die against them, which builds you card advantage. Battle of Legend and Strong Will we'll talk about when I talk about the 1-0 Illya. Our level 3 combo is on play, draw 2, ditch 1. It gains 1,000 for each Illya you have in the backstage. And on attack, you mill, if the draw climax is in play, you mill 5, deal X damage to your opponent, X the number of climaxes you mill, and then you gain 2k power. So, it's Ronco combo. It's not amazing, but it's better than the Berserker level 3, so we're playing it, because we need a level 3. It's also not terrible. If you mill climaxes, you kill your opponent. If you don't mill climaxes, you cancel. And it cantrips into its own climax. And then we play 4 early play heal Illyas. This deck can make a very powerful level 2 board, and these help it a lot. So we're playing 4 of them. Especially because like we can field as many of these in a turn as we want, really. As many cards as we have to heal, rather. It gets minus a level in hand if the 004k Berserker is in your clock. And it gains 500 for each other Master or Servant character. It's on play, discard 1, heal the bottom card of clock to stock. So if you do clock the Berserker for turn, you can play multiples of these and not have to worry about healing it off unless it's the bottom card. And then 3, Encounter on a Rainy Day. It's exactly the same as Khaled Bulk 2, except it grabs blue characters instead of red. So it's just check top 4, add a blue character. This card is sort of, in my opinion, one of the big reasons to play the Illya Berserker deck, or even a not Illya Berserker deck that has a lot of a lot of Berserkers in it. So this is a 1/0/1k. On play, discard a card, any card. Search your deck for a character with Berserker in its card name. Reveal it, put it in hand, and shuffle. That is a costless, effective, like, hand filter tutor. So you're getting a drop search effect with no stock cost. You're only limited to the 4 cards shown here in this deck that you can search, but that's really all we need, right? You can get your finisher, you can get your 1/1 wall, you can get the 0/0 that gives you early play condition, which is really cool. If you don't need anything else, you can just go get early play condition for free. And then the last effect on the Illya here is really cool. Really makes on reverse combo decks think. Really makes any deck think that can't hit absurd power levels, right? When this card is frontal attacked, you can pay 2, return it to hand, to choose a Strong Will Berserker, which is the 2/1, which we can also search with our on-play effect to threaten our opponent, and put it on this card's stage position as the defending character. So you can just play this, pitch a card, go get the 2/1, and your opponent knows you have it. They, like, big mind games. Because you pay 2 and then wall out their dude. So you win on defense, probably. You're a 95. The Strong Will is a 2/1 that gains 1,000 for each backstage Illya you have. So if you're like Brainstorm Global, you're a 10-5. Which is really good at level 1. Like, Attack on Titan's probably the only thing threatening that. And Attack on Titan doesn't even always threaten that, especially on sidelines. And even if you don't have the 2/1, or if they are bigger than the 2/1, you can just pay 2 and return her to your hand. And that's a 2-stock plus that denied your opponent's reverse combo. Which is even better than a lot of the others, like the Mikasa, where you're like, pay 2, sack it. I think the Mikasa sacks. It's more like Grodd, right? You're paying an extra stock compared to Grodd. But you're also getting a lot better card than restricted Grodd can get. And then this leads into a very powerful level 2 board, where we have these Strong Will Berserkers, and at level 2 you can play Battle of Legend Ilyas, which is a continuous, all your other Strong Will Berserker get 1,000, and it's a level assist. So there's, in Heaven's Feel, right, there's a assist that gives 2,000 power to level 3 or higher characters. which makes our early play bigger. And then it also has an on-play, pay 1, discard a climax to salvage a climax. But I think losing 500 power on our early play isn't something we should really worry about. When we're giving an additional like 2,000 power to this 2-1. If you just have one copy of Battle of Legend Illya and a Brainstorm, our Berserker is now a 12k on defense, which is big for a 2-1, right? Especially if he's already been winning board against our opponent at level 1. He can threaten early plays on offense. He can threaten early plays on defense, really. But he can just make a big wall that's hard to deal with. And we get him out and tutor him very efficiently. And this whole setup's just really powerful, right? Because we also get our early plays, which heal us, and benefit from the level assist. It makes them 12/5s in front of her. So you can just set up a very strong wall, which is why you might want to consider playing counters in the deck just to protect it against things that try to get over it. Last thing is I have 3 copies of Encounter on a Rainy Day. A lot of people, including myself, think that one of the big draws to the Illya Berserker deck is Berserker's Will, this 2/0 event counter. It's very similar to Sayaka's Wish, which is a powerful card in the history of the game, where you sack off one of your own characters. In this case, you choose a character with Illya or Berserker in its card name and put it into Waiting Room from your stage, which is strong as a counter because you can deny reverse effects, or just sack things that your opponent already reversed in order to get value out of them. And this one lets you look at up to 4 cards in the top of your deck, choose any card from among them, put it into hand, put the rest in Waiting Room. Don't have to reveal it. You can grab climaxes, you can grab events, etc. Which is real strong. And I agree that it is a big draw to playing this deck. However, it's a little late, I think. Like, when we're trying to make a wall at level 2, we don't really want to be sacking it this easily. And the mill coming at level 2, I don't think is nearly as good as the mill coming at level 1, which is why I have the encounters instead. But it's definitely something to mess around with. It gives you a lot of cool top-end presence, where you can just sack your guys and not get reversed, and turn them into other cards, which is obviously really good. It's not like just playing like an anti-change sack counter and sacking your guy for no effect. You actually get something out of this. The other event you can play in this place is Flames of Purgatory from Fate Zero, where you get to search your deck for a Master and a Servant, reveal them, put them in hand, shuffle, and then put a card from your hand into your Waiting Room and put the event into your clock. Since there are so many Illyas and Berserkers in the deck, you can get one Illya and one Berserker pretty easily. And since we have both Illyas and Berserkers at every level, you can get a wide enough combination of things that the event has a lot of use. So that is a potential option over Encounter on a Rainy Day as well. Next, moving into the deck that I imagine the most people want to see, right? The 8 Treasure deck. This is specifically the list that I've been testing. It's a lot less of a skeleton than the other lists, and a lot more of a like teched out, more optimized build. I don't think it's completely optimized, but it's definitely not a skeleton, right? As you can see, it is 4 colors. So I wouldn't really recommend this deck for newer players. I think it is pretty hard to play, and I don't even think I've really gotten close to playing this deck optimally yet. There's a lot of decisions you have to make. So if you are newer to the game and wanted to try this kind of deck out, you can... Green and red really are the only 2 colors you absolutely need in this deck. And you can see we're only actually playing yellow and blue for 1 level 3 in yellow and 2 level 3s in blue. So you can cut those out and not have to worry about those if you really don't think you can handle that and want to sort of learn the deck in a simpler manner first. So there's a lot of moving pieces in here. So the big things about the deck, right? We have 8 treasure triggers, and those work with the Presage Flower Sakura, which is our Brainstorm. Has the effect whenever we trigger a climax, if it has treasure icon, we can discard a card, choose a card from clock, put it in hand, and then top card a deck to clock. So it helps us discard extra treasures so we don't clog our hand. It also just helps us whenever we trigger one, even if we want to keep it, we can discard a different card we don't need, and hand fix. So it means that our hand is almost always sort of very high quality in what we want. And it's also a self-rest salvage Brainstorm. So we have, throughout the entire game, a lot of ways to just keep our hand very high quality. And that's very powerful, because treasures are a plussing trigger because they build your hand size at no cost. But they're generally looked at as a lower quality plussing trigger because filling your hand with climaxes isn't always a good thing, especially if you already have one in hand. Triggering more just makes things worse, right? And this fixes that entirely. The next big thing about the deck, a lot of people like to focus on level 1 climax combos that build advantage, and in this deck we are playing 4 copies of one. But this deck's level 1 game can actually play completely differently, where if you hit level 1 first and can play these 1-0 Sakuras, and then live on offense, you can control the flow of the game very powerfully. So their on-play effect is discard a climax to add a master or servant from waiting room back to hand. So a lot of times early on, if you trigger climaxes and don't have good enough targets in clock to use the Brainstorm to swap them out for, you can just hold the climaxes. And as long as you have like one of these Sakuras, you can play these Sakuras and turn your climaxes into specific cards out of your waiting room that might be better than what was in your clock. So it's just even more way to turn these low quality pluses into high quality pluses. And then the effect that we're really using it for as well, when it becomes reversed, if the battle opponent is cost 0 or lower, you may put the top card of your opponent's clock into waiting room and put that character into your opponent's clock. So it's a clock bomb, but for cost 0, which goes back to what I said about the Berserker, right? Where a lot of decks are playing cost 0 characters. And while this one doesn't stop them from getting their effects or reversing you, it does remove their character from the stage and can't be encored, which means that you're getting direct attacks back. At level 1, that's very powerful because your opponent's probably still on their first deck, where they're less compressed, and swinging for 3s into direct attack slots can swing the game very heavily in your favor, or even just 2s with like random characters, right? And we can keep these Sakuras around with the Shiro that gives all of our master characters clock encore. It helps in the entire deck because it gives everything clock encore, but specifically these Sakuras, say you like hit level 2 or level 1 second, right? And your opponent already has some 1-0s on board, you can clock bomb their 1-0s to remove them and then encore your card so that they have to deal with them again, right? Or you can, the really powerful play is where you play the Sakuras down, win on offense against 0s, you force your opponent to deal with them when your opponent's attacking you, and then even if they successfully deal with them, you can encore them, direct attack into the slot you've just opened up, and now they have to deal with them for another turn. Which gives you a lot of direct attacks, gives you a lot of soul advantage, and the clock encore combined with this gives you a lot of card advantage too, and they're good hand filtering for extra climaxes. So this is just a cool, very powerful engine that we can use at level 1, that is oftentimes more game winning than your level 1 combo. Second engine we have is the Illya 0. On play, discard a card, look at top 4, choose a master character, reveal it, put it into our hand, put the rest in waiting room. Being able to play this multiple times gives us very precise deck control. We can grab almost anything in our deck, and we can control how many cards are in our deck, which means that we can free fresh. I've talked a lot about the free fresh in my overview and in other decks in this, so not going to say a whole lot about it, but free fresh is really good, and Illya means we can control when we do it. The next big card in here is one that I think people really underrate, is the Brilliant Smile Sakura. This card it's a level assist, and it can rest itself to choose a master or servant in a waiting room and put it in stock. Getting a stock back every turn is very important in helping you loop combo. If you go into combo turn and play 2 Rider level 3s and a Sakura level 3, with 7 stock starting the turn. So you go down to 1 off of playing all of those. As long as you have the climax and the cards in hand to discard and attack 3 times, you will have the stock to use double Rider climax combo every turn for the rest of the game. As long as you have the cards in hand to keep discarding. Which, you're going to be running out eventually, but so long as you're able to pay the cost, or so long as you're able to discard and attack 3 times. Sakura being able to stock a card means you can combo forever, in 2 lanes. But the last effect is the one I think people really don't pay attention to. Or really, it's the middle effect on the card, right? On play from hand or by a change effect, you may choose a master or servant character in your waiting room and return it to your hand. I think people definitely realize the value of cantrips on early plays, like draw 2, ditch 1, and stuff like that. But I don't think people realize how much more powerful selective cantrips are. And obviously it can't like grab your climaxes or whatever, but being able to grab any specific character you need for that moment is really strong. So we have like the 0/0 Lancer. Say we do combo turn and trigger the wrong climax. If we have a Sakura in hand, we can play the Sakura, salvage the Lancer, play the Lancer, swap to the correct climax. Combo again. If our opponent has something we need to return to hand, or if we need to like pump soul for precise side attacks, we can grab the Saber, even though we only play 1 copy of it. It lets us get healers if we need them. It lets us get extra copies of level 3 combo, right? So now, all we need is 7 stock, 1 Rider, 1 Sakura, and the climax. You can play Rider, heal, play Sakura, grab the second Rider, play that Rider, heal, stock a card, double combo. Easy. You can grab Free Fresh at any point if you have Sakura in hand and 5 or fewer cards in deck. It means that you can play 1 and not have to worry about being able to get the 1 for your next deck state. You can play it, Free Fresh at 2, your opponent eventually hits you to 3, your Free Fresh dies, you play Sakura, grab it back, Free Fresh again. The other card you can grab off of it, you're probably wondering like, oh, why would you salvage the bond to the card you just played? You don't need to bond it if you just played it. But the True Intentions Rider actually has a really cool interaction with the Sakura, since they both technically salvage each other, right? Sakura salvages anything on play, and then the Rider bonds to the Sakura. You can play the Sakura, stock a card, salvage the Rider, then stock a card, play the Rider on top of the Sakura. Since the Sakura to waiting room, give a character plus 1500, discard a card, add the Sakura back, play the Sakura on top of the Rider, salvage the Rider back, rest the Sakura, stock a card, play the Rider again, pump another character 1500, or pump the same character 1500 more, and you can play that over the Sakura again, right? And then bond the Sakura back, and you can keep looping that. And every loop that gives you plus 1500 power costs 1 hand and 1 stock net, which is a little expensive for 1500 power, but you can do it an unlimited number of times, which is really good against decks like Bunny Girl, right, where they have Futaba level 3 that might be 18,500 power with great performance, and if you can't bounce it back with Saber, you can pump your power bigger than it. Or even if your opponent just has like 14 Ks in 2 lanes, and you need to pump 2 of your level 3s by 1500 apiece, you can do the loop like once to do it. It's like play the Rider, pump 15, and then salvage Sakura, salvage Rider, pump 15 again. So that's really strong for like being able to build huge boards on offense. It's just a really neat engine that it doesn't really take up any deck space, because even if you just get to level 3 and you have this Rider in hand, it's an almost free copy of the Sakura that then gets you into whatever other card you need. So it gives you just a lot of selection, which is a lot of where the like power in this deck comes from, right? Is being able to toolbox very efficiently. So looking back at the entire list, right? We play the Lancer that swaps our climax. We play the Clock on Course Shiro. We play the Illya. And we play the Brainstorm and the Bond. Those are all level 0s that we've talked about. We play 2 of the Shiro Stock Bomb, because it goes to memory when it gets reversed, optionally, so we can either choose to Clock Encore it or send it to memory, which is free compression. It's also a little bit of yellow color fix, and it removes cards that might be a little problematic for us if we just need to remove them. So if your opponent, like, if your opponent's in the mirror, right, and they play like turn 1 Clock Encore Brainstorm and attack with Brainstorm, planning on Clock Encoring it, we can remove it. But even in other decks where they have effects that say activate when they get reversed or activate when they go to waiting rooms, like Inazuma in Kantai Collection, or some of the like on reverse reveal up to 3, add 1 to hand effects. Those are in a bunch of sets now. We can remove those without letting our opponent get their effect off. So it just has a lot of different roles that it serves. 1 copy of the Saber Altar is red color fix, a little bit for free fresh. Normally we're just leveling a free fresh for red, but it gives us a little bit of red. And it's a drop search, so it can help us get into guaranteeing Clock Encore early, or guaranteeing Brainstorm early, or even just guaranteeing level 1 combo if we already have the other 2. And it's if you have 2 or less stock, it gains 1500. So if we have to play it turn 1, it can't get Clock Encore, but it's a 35. So it's kind of just a plussing beater on its own. We play 1 anti-change counter. Ideally, we have access to it often enough that 1 copy is enough. It's kind of actually hard to fit more than 1 copy in here. But yes, we have anti-change to threaten that against early plays. Even though we have good answers to early plays anyway. 4 level 1 combo. The condition for it being a 55 is having a Shiro on stage. Stock Bomb also acts as a Shiro in case we don't get Clock Encore. Normally that's going to be the Clock Encore. This is on reverse search, which is actually pretty good because that thins your deck, which you can really want sometimes on first deck when you're playing treasures. It also, if you trigger treasures and blind stock, you get to look at your deck when you reverse with this, so you get to know whether or not you blind stock to climax, which is important information because that can determine whether you pay a little more stock to try to get it out next turn. Especially if it's like, she's the 3rd attack and triggers the treasure, right? Then you just know, oh, I brainstorm, or oh, I don't brainstorm, right? 4 of the clock bombs, like I said, 4 free freshes. I think all the level 3s are pretty self-explanatory. We're playing the Illyas without the early play condition because they're heals for 1 stock. This 2-1 Rider is the other big card in the deck. It's a 6k, but during your turn it gains 1000 for each other master or servant, so it's a 10k. And whenever your other character attacks, it gains 15. So if it attacks last, it's 13,000, which threatens a lot of early plays. And whenever it reverses a level 2 or higher, it gets to put the top card of your stock into top card of your deck into your stock. So it's effective 0 cost. And since it never specifies level 3s, like the Ren 2-1 we've talked about earlier in this video, you can use it to kill like 2-2 standby targets like Rhapsodic Lisbeth, and the 2-2 Koga, as well as early plays. And we have two copies of Noble Phantasm Unleashed. It's the stock swap event. Not super duper important, I don't think, but we have the slots and it beats decks that build a lot of efficient stock. It's mainly going to be, like, sometimes this deck in the mirror, since it doesn't have a lot of stock outs, or things it needs to spend stock on early game, apart from, like, brainstorming. But decks like Bang Dream with toilet events can get a lot of stock. There's not a whole lot of decks in the game that are, like, really stock focused in English. But, you know, Konosuba plays their stock swap as part of their end game. It's not really part of ours, but if the opportunity ever arises, right, your opponent has like 7 stock, 5 cards in deck, and you know there's 2 climaxes, you just jam this down. Like, it gives you outs in those situations. It's also, we can get away with playing 2, because our brainstorm, whenever we trigger a treasure, the card that we add out of our clock can be any card. It doesn't have to be a character. So if these ever go to our clock, we can just drop a climax and grab them when we trigger. And we don't really have to be afraid to hold them either, because we have so many discard outs that if we ever hold them and it ends up hurting us and we need a different card instead, we can just pitch them to like an Illya or a brainstorm effect or whatever, and go get something else. So yeah, overall this is a deck with a lot of toolboxing power, a lot of strong effects. I didn't really talk about the Rider, but I guess since she is sort of the main centerpiece of the deck, right? She heals on play. And on attack climax combo, we pay 2, discard 1. Character facing her gets minus 3,000 power, and character facing her gets cannot frontal attack. So she gains those continuous effects. So it beats hexproof cards, cards that can't be chosen by your opponent's effect, because she never chooses, right? She has the continuous effect that is affecting the slot across from her, but it's never choosing it. And since she can't be frontal attacked, she will live. So you can keep doing the combo as long as you keep getting the climax. And it just shuts down those lanes, really, because they have to side at that point, which is minus 3 soul. So when you're playing this, like, 5 healers in conjunction with shutting down, like, hopefully 2 lanes at a time, your opponent's getting 1 attack into what's ideally a compressed deck. So you're not really taking a lot of damage. Even if they have something that can, like, restand or whatever, they're getting 2 attacks. So it's like free anti-damage at that point. And your characters are guaranteed to live, so you stop having to play more cards. You're able to just sort of sit on utility stuff. And with Free Fresh, that's kind of 4 more healers every time you get low on cards in deck. And with Azusa and Brainstorm and all, you can control the number of cards in your deck well enough that whenever you're, like, you go into a refresh, and if you're compressed, you just let it sit, and you cancel their 1 or 2 attacks. And then if you get into a spot where you're not compressed, you mill down, Free Fresh, draw a card, and then sit there and cancel their attacks, right? So very powerful engine, very powerful deck. It's definitely going to be something you have to keep an eye out for moving forward. Just because there's so many cards that sort of change the way you have to play in here. Between the 1-0 Sakura and the 3-2 Rider. So yeah, really strong deck. This is, like I said, the build I've been testing. It's been very good in testing, so thank you guys for watching. I know this one's dragged on a little long because I had 4 builds this time and went a little more in-depth on them than I normally do. But thank you guys for sticking it out to the end. Next big video I'll have will be in January for Goblin Slayer. So yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you guys then.